accomplishments. So welcome, welcome, Terri.
Thank you so much, Marianne. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's a pleasure for us to have you. I just was so intrigued by your story that I had to have you share it with our audience. So, could you tell us a little bit about your story and how this all came about?
Okay, I'd be happy to. It really starts way back, 20 something years ago, and I was a wife, a mother of two children in elementary school, and working, active with my church, all these things that we find ourselves doing sometimes just in a robotic manner. We just
Yes.
get up and we do so many things. I was having some little indigestion, so I thought indigestion one day, and I took some antacids and just kept going. Again, the next day felt sluggish, felt some heart palpitations, and again it felt like indigestion. Took some heart I mean took some um don't want to say the brand name
Yeah.
acids, and then just went on to work. Well, I had a new assistant starting that day, and that's why I felt I had to go to work. No one else could have trained her, right? Just had to, but as I'm sitting here throughout the day training her, I would just like do this once in a while. And she finally stopped and said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, it's just nothing." And, when it happened again, she said, "Okay, something's wrong. You really need to go get that checked out." And I said, "Oh, nothing's wrong." She then pulled out a newspaper article from her wallet. It was an obituary, and it
Mm.
was her sister's obituary. Her sister was only 33 years old when she passed, and she said, "My sister ignored some symptoms. You better go get checked out."
Oh, smart lady.
Yeah. And I believe, that was the reason for her being there that day.
It
Sure, she was
was.
starting a new job with us, but I do believe she was my angel at that point because I said, "Okay, I'll go." And so it was late in the afternoon, wanted to go to the urgent care, but first I had to stop by my children's after school daycare and pick them up. I had to get them home and get their homework situated, fix them dinner. Then I left a note for the husband saying that I'm going to urgent care. Why do I say all that? Because in,
Typical women.
I know. And in hindsight, that was just like so crazy to do that. But again, by habit, by being the robots that we are, that only we can do all these things,
Hmm.
these type of things will get you a shorter lifespan
Oh, yeah.
in that way. So as I was there at the hospital or the ER, urgent care actually it was connected to the hospital, they said you need to call your husband because you're not going anywhere. We're admitting you. You've had a mild heart attack. And I'm like, no, there's no time for that in my schedule. There's no time. So so to fast forward from there, many tests and scans, x-rays, all these different things were happening for over a 6-month period. During that time, they realized that I had an autoimmune disease called sarcoidosis. I'd never heard of it before. A lot of people that I've
Sarcoidosis.
mentioned it,
Yeah.
yeah. I mentioned it to several people, they'd never heard of it, but it is an autoimmune disease that can affect anywhere in your body where you have tissue. Mine happened to be in my lungs.
Oh,
So it's a good thing that I was there at that time, during this time in my life where I was just, a wreck. I was a wreck. I was eating
oh,
junk
yeah.
food, stress, and junk food galore. Uh, because, sometimes people think that if they're thin or in shape body wise, that they're okay. No, I
Hmm.
wasn't gaining weight, but I was eating junk. And so the
Hmm.
inside of me was totally different than what it looked like on the outside of me.
Isn't that so true of a lot of women? Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Now that's not my problem. I can gain weight very easily
Yeah.
now.
In midlife, yeah, unfortunately.
Right. I wish I could turn the clock back to the 40s because I was age 40 when I had that heart
40
attack.
years old.
It's 40. And I can't tell you how much I attempted to look up this disease. What do I do about it? How do I get rid of it? At the time, I was told there is no cure for it because there's no known cause. They don't know what caused it. They don't know what caused it. It's similar to lupus, um, fibromyalgia.
Ooh.
It's induced by stress. Stress brings it on, but there's an imbalance going on in your body. And it wasn't until 12 and a half years later that I was introduced to raw, plant-based food.
12 and
And
a half years later.
12 and a half years. Yeah. I had made some minor adjustments along the way. I cut out red meat. I wasn't eating a lot anyway, but I cut out, red meat. I cut out white potatoes, white sugar, white rice, um, white
Yeah, they
milk.
say anything white is, milk, all of that is going to be
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. And that was the most knowledge that I got nutrition wise along the way. And that did help a lot. In fact, I would go back for doctor visits and they were thinking that I was taking the medicine and I was getting better because of the medicine.
Yeah.
No, I was getting better because I made wise choices on my.
Oh.
So, but it wasn't enough. It was not enough because I was still having episodes, I guess they're
Mm.
called, where I would go into this thing where, again, my body would tense up because of the sharp pains that was happening on the inside. Now, autoimmune, when your autoimmune system is compromised, I like to say, an easy way to help people understand what that means is that your white blood cells, right? They are the protectors of your body. Your white blood cells are like an army. They're the frontline men in the
Mhm.
army camp, and they go ahead. They go before the rest of the troop, and they fight off the enemy, right?
Mhm.
But when you have an autoimmune disease and your white blood cells are, well, when you have inflammation, put it that way, that means your white blood cells are overworking. They don't go to
Absolutely.
sleep, they don't stop, they don't let someone else come in and take over for a while. Our bodies can't be just on 24/7 operation. We have to rest. But
Yeah,
when
something will
you,
break.
yeah, something will break. And so what these white blood cells are then attacking each other. They're attacking themselves. And so imagine that they're just all, you know, dead on the
Yeah.
front line. And it's allowing the enemy to just come forth and tear your whole body apart.
Mm.
So it's allowing disease to come in. It's allowing, um, things like COVID. It's allowing this allergens in the air, anything. It's allowing that to get past that front line that usually guards against those
So
things.
you could have had many triggers because we know you can't even breathe the air in our environment, and then the toxins in the food.
Yes.
So, and of course, I'm from Flint, Michigan. We can't even drink water. So
Oh,
you had so many enemy defenses were just, you're attacking your body constantly.
constantly, constantly. And that's why people ask why they should do a detox, right? Even if you're eating healthy, as I ended up doing, and I'll explain that in a minute, but even if you're eating very healthily, you need to detox because of the allergens in the air, because of what's in the water, because of just, you know, who you're around, pets. We love our pets, but guess what? They are still animals. They're different species, and their parasites could not become our
Yeah,
parasites.
they're not healthy.
I know it's not healthy. They're sleeping in people's beds, they're kissing their pets. And I loved having dogs. And I would love to have a dog now again if I weren't so busy and traveling and stuff. But I had to, like, put a limit, on where the dog would sleep and what were, simply just for health purposes. And that's why we need to detox all the time. But what happened is, 12 and a half years into me fighting this, I was in and out of the ER because there were just times when I just couldn't breathe. I couldn't, it would hurt to breathe in. It was like a sharp pain attacking me. They had to go in and remove a piece of the lung where I had a swollen lymph node when they first discovered this. So it would keep happening in the lung area. And I would go to the ER knowing that there's really not much they can do, but just for some kind of relief, a little antibiotic or something. And there was one time where it had gotten pretty bad and I was in the ICU. While I was in the ICU, my best friend of 38 years was in another hospital. She and I both had lived in Texas for a while. I had relocated to Chicago at this point. So I was in a hospital in Chicago. She was in a hospital in
Wow.
Dallas. And I had my cell phone with me. I wasn't supposed to in ICU, but I snuck it in there.
Mhm.
But my best friend, she called my house phone for some reason. She didn't call my cell phone. She called my house phone. And her message I got 3 days later when I was home again. And it said that she was going in for surgery, emergency surgery they found cancer in her body, emergency surgery. She was scared. She needed to talk to me. I didn't get her call. She didn't make it off that operating table.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thank you. And today is the anniversary of her. I mean, it's her birthday, not the anniversary,
Oh,
but today is her birthday. How fitting that we're talking about this right now. But that one incident gave me enough push to say, enough is enough.
hmm,
I was not there for her. I was even her power of medical attorney, uh,
yeah,
meaning the person that would help make decisions if she couldn't medically. And I'm like, how could I be of any help to her, to my own children, to my other loved ones, if I cannot be well myself?
exactly.
I think everyone needs a turning point. Everyone needs something that would really, really make them
Yes,
say, enough is enough.
that
And
wake up call.
yeah, that was my wake up call. That was my line in the sand. And I said, God, help me get rid of this once and for all, not just sometimes and then I'd have this relapse, but once and for all, let me get rid of this. And within a year, I found that answer. And it was, well, it was just past 1 year, and it was living superfoods. It was plant based, raw. And I did that. I went 100% raw. One day I was eating junk food. I love potato chips. So one day I'm eating potato chips and other things. The next day, 100% raw. And do you know what? In 7 days, all my symptoms went away. Like,
7 days.
like I
Think
was,
about that.
and
After 12 and a half years
yeah,
in and out of the ER
yep,
on all these medications, trying to control the pain, not being able to breathe, ending up in ICU and going through a horrific loss of a friend, for you to do that and turn that around in 7 days. And I know you, like many other people, heard over and over and over again the value of eating fruits and vegetables.
yeah, yeah.
But did anybody ever chalk it up to the power that it provided in your life?
Never. I tell you, at one point I was being seen by three doctors in the early stages of this diagnosis. I was being seen by a cardiologist for the mild heart attack still, and
Hmm.
a internal specialist and a pulmonologist.
Hmm.
None of them mentioned anything about maybe if you try, let's look at what you're eating. Let's change your diet a little. Let's do none of them. And that was 23 years ago,
It's
maybe.
just not their specialty.
Not their specialty. They may
They're
take
great at what they do, but
exactly.
that's just another phase of training that they haven't been introduced to very much.
Yeah, and you being a nurse, you would know. I think they get what, 1 semester of nutrition, if that.
They get 4 hours. So usually the doctor will turn to me and say, well, her protein's whacked out. What do you think we should do? And bring the dietitian on. Let's get the dietitian involved and let's see what we can do. And still, we do not get this holistic approach that says you would be better. It's okay. It's wonderful for the dietitian to say your macros should be this, that, and the other. And if you eat this much protein and these many carbs and so forth, you'll have a nice, well-balanced diet. And if you stick with whole, healthy food and not something out of a can or a bag, you're going to be better. But still, nobody takes them right down to the depths of where they need to go, which is how you really need to start eating the raw foods, those organic fruits and vegetables.
Especially when you're in your healing portion, your healing time period. You know, some people are like, oh, I couldn't do it. Well, do you want to be well or not?
You
You
don't
know,
think like that.
yeah. And they may say, oh, it takes a lot of time to chop up all the veggies. You know what? Sitting in the ER takes up a lot of your time. I have been 6 hours in the ER just
Yeah.
waiting to, and it had gotten so that I knew the routine so much that I was in the ER one time when I got a phone call from my son who was at his dad's, and he's like, I forgot my homework, you know, and his dad was like 26 miles away from me. I said, okay, he left his homework at my house. I said, okay, I left the ER. I drove all the way there, took him his homework, came back to the ER. They still have called my name.
Yeah, that's true. That is
No.
absolutely the truth. And it's just gotten worse since COVID. It's because we don't have all of those healthcare workers anymore. And in Michigan, 70,000 nurses left nursing. So you can just imagine how long the wait is really going to be. And there just aren't those healthcare professionals out there helping everybody the way they used to 20 years ago.
No, we have to. Right now, it's a must to become your own advocate and become an advocate for your loved ones. You know, I seek to be a patient advocate these days because I've seen too much of what goes on. My father unfortunately died due to medical error. Just
Oh,
in
I'm so sorry.
it you know, thank you, 200,000 people per year. I think the last medical report, IO report, showed 200,000 per year die from errors in hospitals, not from the surgery, not from, you know, the regular caring that
Hmm.
takes place. And these are intelligent people, you know, doctors, nurses, they're very
Licensed.
that what
Yeah.
they do. But errors happen, they're human. And if
Yeah.
you're not watching, you can't, you know, just blame it on them. You can't say, here I am, doctor, take care of me, make me well. No, you
And
have
how many people do that though?
to do.
They put all of their trust and their faith into a person that barely knows them.
Right. No one knows your back.
And they are good. They're very educated, dedicated doctors, truly wanting to do the very best that they can for everybody, but they will never know you the way you know your own self.
And they're practicing, as it
Yep.
says in so if you aren't going to take care of you, who else is going to do it any better? And so this is while inside of a hospital and outside of a hospital, you have to do what it takes. Oh, and then the other thing people say, oh, it costs so much money to eat well. You know what? I wish I had a hospital bill close by right now, but when I had to go to the ER one of those times, didn't even spend 24 hours in the hospital. It was $33,000.
Well,
33,000.
in your particular condition today, if you have a cardiac arrest and you need to go to ICU, and let's just say that you're probably going to have open heart surgery, that's going to be a minimum of $120,000. That is not anything to bat an eye at. Your health is that important.
It is, it is. And if it takes you a little bit of time to cut up those veggies, so be it.
I tell everybody to throw them in a smoothie, throw them in the blender, let the blender chop them up.
and the juicer, you know, you can put your whole, I put the whole orange in there. I don't have to peel it. You know, the whole lemon goes in there. You don't have to peel it.
Yep.
You know, the kale, everything, you put it in there, stems and all. the juicer takes care of it. And it's
Yeah.
all so nutritious that I can't speak about that enough. And I save a lot of money in the grocery store because guess what?
Mhm.
I don't go down those middle aisles. I just shop on the perimeter
Yes.
and I'm in and out of there. I go to one particular store for all of my veggies and my fruit. And I don't have to buy organic either because you wash it all. Do you know for sure that it came from an organic place? Do you know for
Yeah.
sure? If you don't
There's,
know,
well, there's actually, it can say organic and they don't spray it. However,
the
it
wind,
is planted right next to other crops that are being sprayed. And so you have this certain amount of runoff. So they can never really guarantee that it's 100% organic unless you grow it in your own yard.
that's what I was going to say. That's the next best thing. That is the best thing. You must grow your own. And until you can grow your own, just be smart about where you're shopping and wash it. Wash it well. I
Mhm.
would watch it if it's organic even because again, you don't know, but I typically don't have to buy organic. And it's my grocery bill is a lot cheaper than someone coming out of Walmart with the basket full of all of these additives that are these processed foods. The cereals are like, how much? I don't know, the cost of cereal, and it has so much sugar in it. The sugar content is what's
Yeah.
taking people out. And you know all too well that sugar does to the brain the same thing cocaine does to the brain.
Yes.
You wonder
Yes.
why children can't learn. They're bouncing off the wall. The poor teachers can't teach because they're bouncing all over the place from breakfast, from sugar, from cookies, from cupcakes, and it goes on and on.
It does, and it's become an epidemic. The typical sad American diet, that standard American diet is really filled with a lot of chemically processed foods that are not going to help anybody's body. You can tolerate it for a certain amount of time, but like in your particular case, I mean, you had an underlying autoimmune condition, but a lot of people do experience heart attacks, liver failure, and gallbladder is probably the one of the biggest things. Once you hit the age of 40, almost, many women, if they're still eating that type of a diet, their gallbladder goes right out the window.
Yeah, because
So it's just phenomenal to me that you actually were intelligent enough to stand up for yourself and say, I'm not going to listen to this anymore. I've been so sick and tired that I'm done being sick and tired, and I'm changing this.
yeah,
And then I'm going out into this world and I'm going to be a health advocate that's going to tell other people, you don't want to be me. And I thank you so much. This whole conversation was super enlightening, and I know that there's many people who are going to benefit from this. And if for nothing else, they just stop and say, wait a minute, maybe I know myself better than this doctor does. And I want to also tell people you have the right to question doctors.
they want you
They
to.
don't mind that. They would rather you be involved in your health, ask questions. They don't want you to sit there and just say, mm-hmm, yeah, mm-hmm. That doesn't do anybody any good.
Right. Which is why you should never go to a doctor appointment by yourself.
That's
Always
another
think
thing. Yes.
they can be writing down all these long words that are being spewed out while you are listening intently. And you're thinking about something later that's not helping. But when there's two of you there in the room, maybe the other person can think about, to ask the question that you haven't thought of until hours and hours later. You have
Yeah.
to take someone with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's lots of times when patients took me aside after the doctor left the room and said, what did he say really? And then I
No,
have to re-explain it all over again.
yeah, yeah. And doctors can't help it. They're on a schedule. They got like
They've got
20
to go. Yep.
patients to see according to their insurance or whatever. It just these are some really uh, trying times in the
They are.
medical industry. And the best thing is to just stay out of the hospital at all costs. Stay out of the urgent care. Stay out, go do your regular checkups, but then be on top of it. Don't miss things. You have symptoms going on and you're like, oh, I don't want to know. You better go and know, and then treat it holistically, treat it in, a way that's going to help your body repair and not get worse.
Yes,
It takes a lot of
absolutely.
minutes.
Well, thank you again. I know that a lot of people are going to benefit from this conversation today. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I have several books they can look at. Books Fix Your Immune System, Fix Your Gut.
Yes.
And my first book was Get Your Raw On. I went raw. And I tell people, don't even worry about going 100% raw. Baby steps, unless you are really, really, really ready and have drawn a line in the sand like I did because of my best friend's death. Until then, just do little steps. They all help.
Yes. Thank you.